Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. I am your host, Noor Kyle.
And I am her faithful sidekick, Mushtaq Ali.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us, whether you're here live or watching on the replay. We are grateful to have you here. And of course, doing a quick spiel, we invite you, if you would like to support us, and we hope you would, please subscribe to our channel, like this video. Mushtaq's put a lot of work into developing a lovely story for us today. And it's so wonderful when we have the sense that people are out there listening and enjoying. So feel free to,
Yeah. And do remember, please, to leave a comment if you
yes,
can. It only takes you a couple of minutes, and in today's algorithm wars, it makes a real difference.
indeed it does. Yes. Chris is here.
Chris made
Wonderful.
it.
Yay. Another one of our good friends is here. All right. So we also have a bunch of interesting links in our description. You may have seen some of our friends wearing cool t-shirts. We don't mention those very often, but you'll find a link to purchase one of those there. Also, we do have some free time coming up in terms of our one-on-ones. So this week, perhaps not, but certainly next week and the week following, we do have openings if that's something you've been interested in for a while. So you can check out our booking page for one-on-ones or even two-on-ones. So we can get to know you, you can get to know us. And if you'd like that one-on-one support, that's how you can get a sit down with us on Zoom. And we get to talk about whatever you like and see if we can support you in your spiritual work, your spiritual practice. Otherwise, of course, the usual links to our Facebook group, our Instagram, all of those things, you'll find them in the description. I am in the process of updating our email list right now, and I'm putting cool things out on our Instagram and Facebook pages. So check those out. Let us know what you think. Anything I should add, Mushtaq?
Um, we aren't
Donate?
sure exactly when it's ha going to happen, probably or possibly next Sunday at our 10:30 a.m. We are going to have a special talk on music and legomenism. And this is going to be with our good friend Adrian, who is a master musician. And
Yes.
he will be joining us from España.
Yeah, so we're really looking forward to that and putting a lot of fun prep work into that enlivening
And we
conversation.
might even get Noor to sing.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what the moment calls for, and perhaps you will get to hear me sing. All right. So, last thing I will add is if you would like to support our work in another way that I have not mentioned yet, we are always accepting donations so that we can keep doing this work and providing as much as we can of our knowledge and all of the things that we enjoy sharing here with you for free as much as we can. So, anyways, without further ado, let's get to tonight's Nasruddin story.
So tonight we have a special story. It is not well known in the Naseredine community, but I think that people will find it interesting. It's called Mullah Nasruddin and the Holy of Holies. And it's a bit of a vision quest. So let's get right into it. Take a moment, prepare yourselves, take a breath. Imagine that you are in 12th century Turkey, somewhere in Anatolia, in a small village. There is the smell of good food and the sounds of animals, livestock around. And there, in the marketplace, is Mulla Nasruddin. It was a Wednesday, or perhaps it was Tuesday wearing a disguise, when Mullah Nasruddin discovered the ancient text. He was at the bazaar arguing with a melon seller over the metaphysical impossibility of paying full price for something that would inevitably rot. Ah, Mullah, said the vendor, exasperated. You haggle like a philosopher. That's because I can't afford to haggle like a rich man, Mullah replied, tossing a coin with such reluctance that he nearly fainted from separation anxiety. As he turned to leave, something tumbled down from a pile of secondhand books on the stall next door and thudded against his foot. It was an old leather-wrapped scroll titled "The Search for the Holy of Holies." Well, said Nasruddin, picking up the scroll, either it is a sign from above or a clumsy librarian has joined the celestial ranks. He unrolled the scroll and began to read. It seemed like a sort of riddle. It said, there is a place beyond form, beyond doctrine, beyond name. It cannot be seen with the eyes or reached by maps or stars. Those who have entered it never return as they were. It is a chamber of presence. It is where the real reveals himself without veil. There is one, the one who hears this and truly hears will never again be content with the world. The first doorway is silence. The second is the library. There the scrolls no longer opened. In words misread and forgotten are signs, not instructions, but hints, shadows, reflections of the chamber to come. To read is not enough. The words must awaken a memory deeper than reading. You cannot enter halfway. This is not a path for the curious or the clever. You must give everything, not once, but again and again. Though every attachment, every identity must be laid down without promise of return. This is the cost of entering the place where God is not an idea, but a fire. The path does not unfold in straight lines. Some will appear to help you and truly do. Some will appear to help you and truly harm. The ones who seem against you may be your greatest allies. The ones who seem holy may be your greatest test. Truth wears many faces, and so does illusion. Learn to see with the heart. Eventually, the greatest obstacle appears. It is not the world. It is not the devil. It is yourself, your need to be right, your hunger for control, your secret pride in seeking the real. This is the wall that blocks the door. This is the false temple that must be torn down. There is no tool to tear down but surrender. Surrender is not weakness. It is the highest strength. You must give up your power and the idea that you ever had any. You must be nothing. And in becoming nothing, you become the vessel. Then you come to the door. You do not knock. The door is not locked. But you are asked, why are you here? What will you say? You have no answers. Only the heart only the heart that has been broken open, only a silence deeper than words. You say, I have no right. I am not pure, I am not wise, I am not worthy, but I was called. And if I have been called, then I will come. If I am turned away, it will be by him, not by fear. The door opens, you enter. There is no throne, no figure of light, no voice, no fire, only a still chamber, emptier than the sky. In the center, the Holy of Holies. You walk to it. You look, and you see the real. Nasruddin re-rolled the scroll slowly, as if the parchment might bite if he disturbed it too quickly. After a beat, he unrolled the scroll again. He stared at the final words for a long time. Then, looking up at the sky, it was clear and bright, utterly unaware of his sudden seriousness. Well, he said to no one in particular, I've chased donkeys, debts, and dreams across half the known world. Might as well chase the truth while I still have both sandals. He straightened up, dusted himself off, tucked the scroll in his robe. If the Holy of Holies is real, I'll find it. And if it isn't, at least I'll have a good story to tell out of it. Then, with solemn dignity of a man embarking on a quest he only half understood, he marched straight into the nearest fruit cart. A good start, he muttered, picking up an orange from the ground and brushing it off. Every holy journey begins with a little bruising. Mullah Nasruddin consulted the scroll one more time to get his bearings. There is a place beyond form. Nasruddin squinted. Sounds like my kitchen after a visit from the goat. As he read further, the words stirred something beneath the crust of cynicism that covered his soul like day-old lentils. The one who hears this and truly hears will never again be content with the world. Nasruddin dropped his hands into his lap in exasperation. Of course I'm not content with the world. Have you heard my neighbors singing donkey? The real question is, how can I not hear this? He rewrapped the scroll in its leather and stuffed it deep inside his coat. And just like that, the journey began. He traveled to the great city and entered its famed library, a place of silence, so silent that even the mice tiptoed. He opened dusty volumes no one had touched in centuries. There were books with titles like The Alchemy of Silence and How to Completely Disappear Spiritually. He read, he pondered, he dozed, he spilled his tea. One day, after misreading a line in some book as "The truth is a chicken in disguise," he laughed so hard he fell off his bench. When he looked up, something clicked. Not his back this time, but inside. The words must awaken a memory deeper than the reading, he muttered. Well, it's either them or a concussion. He returned home. He packed his things. He gave away his most prized possession, a mirror that always told him that he looked excellent. His neighbor was suspicious. You've never given away anything in your life. I'm giving away everything, Nasruddin said, even my right to be the smartest person in the room. But you're rarely the smartest person in the room. Exactly. You see how serious this is? And off he went, walking away from his comforts, his opinions, and reluctantly from his turban collection. On the road, he met a mystic who claimed to know the way. I have found the path to the Holy of Holies, the man said, his eyes glittering like that of a saint's or a salesman's. Nasruddin followed him into a ravine and promptly got robbed. Crawling out later, bruised but not broken, he muttered, first the vow, now the ow. I suppose this is part of the teaching. Later, a beggar shared his stale bread with him without asking a thing. Nasruddin gave him a coin. Who are you? He asked the man. The man smiled. That depends. Who is it that's asking? Mullah scratched his beard. Someone who needs fewer riddles and more lunch. By now, his beard had grown philosophical. He had arguments with it daily. One night in a cave, he sat face to face with himself, not metaphorically. He was actually talking to his reflection in a cup of still water. You're not really seeking truth, his reflection said. You want to be known as somebody who's seeking truth. Nasruddin scowled. I have half a mind to drown you. You'd be the first man to drown in his own teacup, said his reflection dryly. He smashed the cup. He wept. Then he laughed. So that's the obstacle. Me. He stopped trying, not in despair, but in peace. He didn't meditate. He didn't fast. He just walked barefoot, empty-handed. He surrendered even the idea of reaching anywhere. At a fork in the road, he said, whichever way leads to lunch, let the will of the let that be the will of the divine. He didn't pray to be worthy, he simply was. And being nothing, he began to feel full. One morning, he reached a place with no name, no walls, no gates, yet it felt like a door. He felt the question rise, not in words, but in his heart. Why are you here? He opened his mouth, and for once, no cleverness emerged. I don't know, he whispered, but I was called. And if I was called, then here I am. Silence answered, and the door, invisible and everywhere, opened. He entered. There was no fire, no heavenly choir, just a chamber emptier than the sky, quieter than thought, and in the center, a mirror. He approached it slowly. In the polished stillness, he saw a face, weathered, tired, full of questions, but in the eyes, something watched back. It had always been there, laughing, loving, patient. Nasruddin looked at it. It looked at him, and the two became one. Later, when he returned to the village, he looked different. He still wore the same patch cloak, and his donkey was still trotting with the same resigned expression. But there was something in the way he moved, lighter, as if he had misplaced a great weight and had no intention of finding it again. The villagers all gathered around, curious. Mullah, cried the baker, did you find that which you were seeking? Mullah smiled, not with triumph, but with the softness of somebody who's stopped trying to convince the world of anything. Yes, he said simply. What was it, asked the butcher? Treasure? A secret teaching? A vision of the Almighty? Nasruddin looked at each of them. He saw the old woman with her aching knees, the young boy with dreams too big for the village, the carpenter who cursed under his breath, but hummed when he was working. He leaned in, eyes twinkling like lanterns, lit from within, and whispered, the one who was seeking. The villagers stared at him. What's that? Said the tailor. Nasruddin nodded. That's everything. Then he walked off down the road, his donkey clomping after him. A few steps later, he walked straight into a tree. The crowd gasped. Mullah, are you all right? He rubbed his forehead and grinned. Apparently, seeing the truth doesn't mean that you stop bumping into things. Enlightenment does not escape from the world. It just means you finally know how to laugh when it hits you. And with that, he mounted his donkey the wrong way, as usual, and rode into the sunset facing backwards, watching the world with eyes that had seen the Holy of Holies and now saw everything. As Mullah passed through the market on his way out of town, he slipped an old scroll under a pile of manuscripts at a second-hand bookseller's stand. And there you have it. Mulla Nasruddin and the Holy of Holies.
It's truly wonderful it was.
Thank you. So this is the time where people comment on things and we talk about the story and all that kind of stuff. Did it mean anything to you? Did it mean nothing to you? Do you want to hear it again? I'm not going to read it again, but you can want to hear it again. That's all right.
Well, I've got a couple of things.
Yes.
One is that the beginning with haggling with the fruit seller and, do you want money for something that will rot, is saying something about the world.
Yes, it is. That you're exactly right with that.
Yeah, and the starting with being bruised, which is more fruit. But
Mm,
also, yeah, that Nasruddin had gotten addicted to being Nasruddin.
yes.
That's a very good point. Thank you,
Um,
Nancy.
you're welcome.
Did you have another thought?
Um, well, I mean, a lot of the conclusion is another, I don't know, variation on, I guess, what we hope we're aiming for. You know, being quiet enough to, I'm trying to think how to put it. Well, be in contact with what is true.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is kind of the point.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Say hi, Mushtaq. Hi. Say
Hola.
hi, Noor. Hi, Noor.
Hello. So what did you guys think, Chris?
It's still churning in my mind. Um, I'll just say I was trying to map the story on the Enneagram as we were going, and the trick for me was that I wasn't sure how long the story was going to be. So I was like, oh, okay, I think we're over here now. I was like, well, no, we're actually still going through like halfway through the story or something. So I guess I'm gonna have to sign myself up for some more homework and do this one too.
Yeah, the trick with the story is that if you want to find the Enneagram, it's in the initial riddle that is in the scroll. And if you can map that, then you can map it the rest of the story.
The whole story. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But yes, this story can easily be mapped on an Enneagram, both the riddle and the actions of the story. Yes, Ian.
The thing I was about to say just evaporated out of my head. I remember what it was. I thought it was very interesting that this connected with the recent talk on silence.
Yes.
I'm sure I had absolutely no doubt that that was deliberate. Uh,
It relates to the talk on silence and the talk on legomenisms, both.
okay,
This story is a legomenism.
clearly. The other thing that occurred to me was it was very interesting uh, that the first person he met sort of looked good, but ended up robbing him, and then the more significant person was the beggar.
Yeah, it often works that way.
Yeah, I was going to say that's kind of a trope of these kinds of stories.
Well, it's true to real life too. I mean, I'm sure each of us can think of so many people who have been sucked in by the glitter of the beautiful people in spiritual work who then prove to be just, you know, are they doing their own work? Are they taking you for a ride and just I'm trying to make a buck off of whatever workshop du jour they're offering. Plenty of people offer genuine work, even for a price, but then there's a lot of people who are just up to shenanigans and spiritual bypassing their way through their teaching.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yep. So, hi, Shuri. What do you think?
Did I look like I was needed to say something?
No, I'm just happy to see you.
Yeah, this story was making me think. It made me laugh when you're seeking and you're doing all the right things you think, and yet that idea that Nasruddin recognized that to give up that recognition of being a seeker. And it's like, let your seeking be kind of secret, but not secret, but just silent. You don't have to blab to everybody what you're doing and all the good works that you're doing and all that sort of thing. And it just makes me laugh because I mean, so often we're on the right, we have the right idea at the beginning, and then we get kind of caught up, and then there's a reputation with a certain teaching or a certain teacher or a certain group or a feeling, and it feels so good, and you're massaging your ego with it, and you think you found it, and then what if nobody gave you praise? What if nobody recognized what you were doing? What if no one actually saw? And that's the funny thing, to laugh at yourself and think, oh, I'm still trapped. Even though you'd given away all these things, you think, ah, I still haven't quite finished. That made me laugh because I do love all these stories because it's very refreshing to see it from this perspective.
Really good point of view there. Thank you, Shuri. These are the things we catch ourselves on. They're like, passing by a thorn bush and getting caught on a thorn unexpectedly. Ah, ow, damn. Ah, I didn't see that there. Ah, there's so much work to do, left to do.
It's quite addictive to actually, you're doing good things, and all the things that come back at you, that people, oh, you're such a good person, and oh, you're so kind, and you're this and that, and you say yes to a whole bunch of things, and you start resenting.
So
And that's it.
hardworking, so generous.
Yeah, yeah. You just think, oh no, like uh, to actually be fully present, to say, I can do this right now. No, I cannot do this right now.
Mm.
And just like, don't have to have a reason. You don't have to tell people anything. The silence of that. Think, the end.
Yep. Mm.
So I was looking at the YouTube video of the traveling dervish singing the song from last Saturday, and which I'm addicted to, by the way. But one of the comments on there was in Turkish, and when I hit the translate button, it said something like, "All who find had to seek, but not all seekers find." And I find that phrase interesting because one of the because what that would suggest is that seeking is necessary, but not sufficient. And if I caught one of the lines right, in this one, it was saying that that to seek is necessary and sufficient. So random YouTube commenter with some nice thing that he said, which got me, thinking about, okay, well, what would need to be sufficient then, with this story saying, if I got it right, just all you need to do is seek, and that's enough. So now I'm kind of like holding those two things in my mind, and like I don't have a conclusion yet, but I'm just throwing it into the mix. Was the story saying to seek is enough?
No, though the that comment on the video is pretty classic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because not everybody who seeks is going to find.
Kind of like the many are called but few are chosen notion too.
Exactly the same thing.
So wasn't there a line though? Maybe I'm misremembering that says something like to seek is enough or something like that.
There's a line something like that.
Uh, is that a common Turkish saying? Because the guy did write it in Turkish, but I don't know if that's a saying that you hear.
Yes, actually, it is a very common Turkish saying. Uh, if you ask someone on the street, they will know it. Maybe they
Mm,
will know what it means.
mm,
Actually, we say it in common language as well. For example, I am searching for my pen, let's say. Someone can say me, if you
mm,
seek, find,
mhm,
just like that.
mhm. But
But
this is saying you seek, but you might not find.
yeah, we twisted it a little bit and just generally use it like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have that phrase in English, seek and ye shall find, but this is, you know,
Yeah, the thrust of the story is to surrender even the seeking, which is slightly different.
yes, Ian.
Uh, I was just going to say that I was actually going to turn off my mic, but I was just going to say that in real life, uh, seeking and not finding is something that something of a specialist at. I lose things disappear. Um, and then every now and again, they'll turn up magically. Like I lost a CD. I posted about this on Facebook. I lost a CD years ago that was one of my favorite things to have playing in the car by the Donners, but I couldn't remember the name of the band um, for years. And then a day or two ago, I decided to try looking for them again and found them in a list. And it's like, finally. But I have so many other things that I've lost over the years and have not been able to find. It's, I'm not sure what to say, disturbing or just a peculiar pattern. Anyway, that's just a side trip.
Yeah, a tangent, but a relatable one nonetheless, to be sure. Chris says, there is a story about the guy who made the coral castle in Florida. Someone saw him wandering down the road, and they asked him, "What are you looking for?" And he says, "I don't know, but I'll know when I find it." Seems a bit like the vibe from this story, too.
A little bit, yeah. And for those of you who don't know about the Coral Castle, you should look it up.
Yeah, I
Yes.
don't know about it, so I'm gonna do a little.
Yeah, it's a strange and interesting story.
Yes, Mert.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Why is it so hard to give away everything and be nothing?
That's a good question.
That's a big question.
Yeah. I mean, we like our things.
Our stuff.
both inner and outer. Our inner stuff is telling us who we think we are. If we give it all away, then who are we?
And
That is the task.
where is the good thing here? Where is the good thing in being nothing?
The good thing in being nothing is inner and outer freedom. That is the best thing. And it's hard to see the divine reality through the lens of your own stuff. There's that.
It's very
But
distorting.
you may be a free person.
You may be a what? A free person?
Free person, yes. And
Yeah.
live in poverty.
Or live in a mansion. If you've truly given away everything, then you can live in a mansion perfectly fine.
Is it harder for someone living in a mansion to give away everything?
No, because there are people who love their poverty. That's part of their identity. I may be poor, but I'm salt of the earth. That's what you'd hear. You would hear here. You can be attached to anything. And basically everybody's attached to their condition.
But rich person has a lot more things to get attached.
Yeah, a rich person may have more things to get attached to, but it doesn't matter. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. The poor person can be just as attached to their identity as the rich person, if not more. There is no particular virtue in being poor. There's no particular virtue in being hungry. There's no particular virtue in being rich. There's no particular virtue in being a glutton. All the same. Ian.
Yeah, I was just, well, that little chat was going on. I was starting to realize I'm very attached to my lifestyle and my comfort. And my comfort in particular has been challenged recently. And I've been realizing that partly in response to that, my robot seems to be rebelling without going into details. Um, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it, but it seems like things going wrong in the physical world and also just finding it difficult to focus and concentrate. And I'm not sure how much of that to just put down to the unusually long period of very high humidity we're having here, which is sort of kind of putting me out of sorts in all sorts of weird ways. Anyway,
This is not irrelevant in the sense that we are tested when we are uncomfortable. It really pushes our buttons in ways that things might not normally when we have at least a comfortable-ish baseline, right? But when we're in pain, when we're tired, when we are irritated by something someone else might be doing or not doing, or things aren't
going,
happening in a timeline that we would appreciate, anything like that. This is why we talk about taking care of our protecting our energy in the sense of making sure that we have enough energy to do the work, because when we don't, everything kind of falls out of balance in certain ways. And there are some things we can control, some things we can't, like the weather, for example, especially when it comes to heat, humidity, that kind of thing. For some reason, given the amount of energy we have to put into physically managing that, there's less energy left to deal with various other stimuli.
Yeah, and in this particular case, over the last couple of weeks, I just had weird things going wrong. The latest was last night. It seems like my ancient mattress is finally about to
Kick
expire.
butt. Yeah. Yep.
Um,
When it rains, it pours, as they say.
Odd, what about you? We haven't heard from you.
I find myself generally short on things to say these days.
Fair enough.
So, Mert, did we get your question answered sufficiently?
Yes.
Okay, good. So the good news is you don't have to give everything up. The bad news is you have to give everything up.
Mushtaq, is it you have to give everything up internally, but not give everything up externally?
Pretty much, you have to give up your attachment to things.
We have a saying in Turkish, they say, money should be in your pocket, not in your heart.
That is a very good saying. And every now and again in my life, if I have gotten too comfortable in to the point where I feel like I can just go to sleep and relax, the universe will arrange itself to wake me up.
We've had a few experiences together like that.
Yeah.
It shakes us up and makes us put our noses back to the grindstone.
This past weekend, I had lunch with a very good friend who's quite wealthy. And he said he had a whole bag for me of all these first class comfort packs from airlines. And they're in beautiful toiletry bag arrangements with all these little goodies inside, and mainly for men, and the cosmetics, the shaver, the toothbrush, the everything.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking about a bag like this, multiples, and they're so gorgeous. You want to keep them all. And I said to myself, I said, I have to find a home for these things. And we have a charity where I can give them. But people were coming to visit me over the last couple of days. And I said, I know you're going to be traveling soon. Would you be interested in? And instead of me only putting out the ones that I was quite happy to give away, I just put the whole lot out and I said, choose whatever you like, as many as you like. And of course, they all took the very best ones. And I was really actually quite chuffed about that, because I thought there was the lesson for me to, I received something that was, oh, lots of hooks for attachment in that, because I love pretty things. I love beautiful things, but I live by something of love it for a little while and then let it go. And it could be 1 second, it could be longer. And so feeling that attachment, start to manifest itself. And I'm thinking, right, here's the lesson. Can you freely just let it go and let someone choose what they need? And I've got rid of the lot. And I thought, well, there you go. It really, I wasn't meant to hold on to that. And it felt great. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else or something, but the lesson of feeling the attachment come on and feeling when you're talking about a non-physical thing, the reputation, the credit that someone's going to give me. Oh, you're really generous. I said, no, I'm not. I didn't even own it in the first place. Yeah, it's just like just came in, went out again, and I like being that channel. But even that's an attachment too. So, just recognizing how can I let that go? Let that go. That's good. That's good. I'm fine with that. And there was opportunities every day in the last few weeks, something has come in, and can I actually let it go to someone who is more needful of that? Because I've got everything I need. I don't need that. That's great. And I just wanted to mention that when you're looking for any kind of special lesson, it's the daily life stuff like that. Just being able to do that, clean up after someone, even if they're not going to be appreciative, but you've done the right thing and it just needed to be done, and then you let it go. Yeah, and same with my nieces. My young nieces are 8, 10, and 11. I did a whole bedroom makeover for their bedroom.
Oh, wow.
Totally cleaned it, moved the furniture around, and transformed it. And my mother asked me, do you think they're going to keep up with what you've set up? I went, doubt it. I'm not going to get upset about it because that would be my attachment to that. I did the right thing, had a good time with them. They learned something from me, maybe, maybe they didn't. But it was just one of those things. You think that there's an attachment to looking for appreciation, looking for recognition, looking for bolstering a reputation or an idea that people have of you. Letting all of that go. They're the hardest things to let go. Things are easy, but the idea of yourself is quite tricky. And last night I watched Wimbledon men's final, and the two men, Carlos and Yannick, they're number one, number two in the world. They're only 22, 23. And the way they ended the match, where they actually put their arms around each other instead of recalling and giving such a lame handshake, they put their arms around each other and walked to the umpire. And they were talking to each other. And then they both had to speak with their acceptance of the trophies. And I was so proud of them. They were so impressive to say, they talked in we. They didn't talk in I. They talked in we, as in their team and them. There's a whole unit to get to the grand final, and being grateful just to get to a grand final, and then being able to a final, and that humbleness of, yeah, there were things I need to do, things I need to concentrate, no bad tantrums. I thought, gosh, that is so nice to see. So nice to see that they were not talking about being number one or number two. They said, first, we are trying to be better people. They both said, I'm trying to be a better person and then a good tennis player.
Mm.
Oh, that was so good to hear.
Lovely. Yeah.
That's lovely.
I heard something a little bit similar this week. Someone I know works in Hollywood, works in the movies, and she is doing a lot of like behind the camera or, quote unquote behind the camera stuff, directing, writing, producing, blah, blah, blah. And she was saying, one thing she looks for is for a project leader who always says we and who is willing to share the kudos or the sense of like accomplishment, because all too often what happens in Hollywood is the producer like says, a film by so and so, and everyone else is just way down on the roster of importance and recognition and all of that. And she's like, if I see that, I complain because it is so critical that we share in the recognition and the accomplishment. Like it should be we. So she lives that for herself. Whenever she's in a leadership role, she seeks to make sure that everyone gets to be seen for what they have contributed by using the word we first and foremost. So it is a small thing, but done well and done from that place of humility rather than just like, look at how magnanimous I am. I mean, there's so many ways we can get ourselves in these traps, but when we are paying attention as best as we can to these small things, these are the little details of working through our attachments and our little soul traps, essentially. They make a world of difference. Thank you for sharing about that in the Wimbledon, Shri. So we have some stuff in the chat. Yes. I will come back to what Nancy has said. Todd says Eisenhower defined leadership as taking all the responsibility but none of the credit. And Chris says, perfect. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to do. It's pretty meaningful when someone is willing to carry that load. All of the responsibility, none of the credit. That sets the bar quite high. Yes. Nancy said, this goes back to the conversation we were having about seeking and finding. Maybe the point is that if you seek with sufficient innocence, you will find. But how do you get sufficient innocence?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
And what is sufficient innocence, for that matter? What does that even look like? Everybody's so quiet tonight.
Oh, I can solve that. Um, but well, it occurs to me that Nasruddin had a starting point because he recognized the scroll as being of value. I
Yes.
mean, he could have ignored it.
And most people would.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Of all the hundreds of thousands of people who watch this video this week, most of them will not get past the story on the scroll. And doesn't say anything about them other than it's not of interest.
Mhm.
You have to be a particular kind of weirdo for strange mystical scrolls to be of interest.
Yeah. And one other thing is that there are a lot of very bad cult leaders who will tell you to try to be nothing, and what they mean is, be controlled.
Yep. But if you're
There's a thing,
controlled, you're not nothing.
right, and there's a thing you said a long time ago about how if you make yourself a donkey, there will be someone to ride you.
Yeah. Old Turkish saying.
I see Mert nodding, so We have confirmation there that this is a thing.
Todd. Yeah, there are so many good old Turkish sayings. I would like to see books of them being collected up.
Well, besides the fact that it's about 100 Fahrenheit right now, which it's difficult to think, much less talk right now.
As we were speaking about earlier, yes.
Um,
Too cold or too cold, too hot?
but the problem is for me is that I have done the work at to a certain level to where there are too many words, too many concepts, too many other things like that. And the the work right now is to be a little more quiet so I could talk a lot about the story, what I'm getting out of it, what I'm not getting out of it, but perhaps just listening and experiencing is a more productive thing at the moment.
Almost always. This is one of those stories, if you try and rationalize it out, it ain't going to work for you. You have to just let it in and let it work on you.
That, and I just reread Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism, which is a book which I heartily recommend to anybody and everybody. And some of the lessons are a bit pointed at the moment.
Yeah, that's by the Tibetan guy, right?
Yeah.
Say his name because I can't remember it.
That's the problem. I can't remember it either right now.
Oh my gosh. Is it?
Trungpa?
I think so.
Uh, yeah. Oh, wait a second.
Let's fact check. But we're thinking of the same person.
Yeah, Chogun Trungpa or something like that.
Chogyam.
Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism by Chogyam Trungpa.
Yeah, that guy.
A very wise and spiritually shrewd person.
Can you share the link in the chat?
Everybody rushing to find the link.
No link yet, but Todd was
We'll
kind
have
enough
one in
to put
just
the
a second.
title in the chat.
It was in context of a couple of friends of mine who are Buddhist practitioners, and one is the Shingon, is at the local Shingon temple. The other is uh, a Thai forest of the Thai forest school. Actually, three. One's just a Chinese Mahayana, and they were all kind of just not quite saying, well, compared to
There.
compared to your arhats, compared to our arhat, our bodhisattvas, your arhats are selfish and well, yes, but we can get enlightenment in one lifetime, and I just kind of had to just kind of bite my tongue and say nothing.
God, that's a lot better than no.
Yeah, I found a channel on YouTube this week which had appears to have some interesting commentary on some of the paradoxes in Buddhist thought. I forget the exact title of the one that I watched. Um, it was something like, and this isn't it, but it's kind of in the rough area. If there's no self, what is it that reincarnates?
What makes you think anything reincarnates?
Oh, I'm not saying I do. I'm saying that's what the title of the thing was. Um, my long-term teacher sort of says that life is like there's two walls. There's one where you enter and one where you leave. And beyond that, nobody knows. Um, but on the other hand, I still have a curiosity about, for example, why do the Buddhists and the Hindus have this idea of reincarnation? Um, and I found that particular video to be kind of interesting in terms of the way it was looking at things. And so it prompted me to um, dig a bit deeper into the idea of samskaras, which is partly because earlier this week, it might have been early this week or the week before, I started getting the hang of what samskaras were about, um, and started seeing them in my own psyche, shall we say. Um, and just because the idea of reincarnation per se doesn't necessarily make sense. One of the things I did have a realization about a long time ago is that things can propagate through generations. Um, and in fact, seeing that is really what allowed me to forgive my parents for a lot of the things that I had problems with them for. And I saw a post of Nancy's, I think, just earlier this evening, which seemed to be, I didn't dig into all of the comments, but seemed to be on a similar vein in relation to mothers. Do you want to comment, Nancy?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand your question.
Oh, I thought I remembered seeing a post of yours uh, about issues with your mother.
Yeah,
And
I did post it and it turned up a lot of interesting things about difficulties with parents. Um, um, but I'm still not quite, I spaced, I don't remember what your question was.
it wasn't a question. It was just, it seemed that that post was sort of in a similar vein to what I had experienced in terms of thinking of the, should we say, generational intertransfer of issues.
Uh, Very certainly. And I don't know if this is the most relevant thing, but one of the things is that even with the best efforts, sometimes trauma takes more than one generation to resolve.
Yeah,
Um,
and when I read that, it reminded me of there's a biblical verse somewhere like the sins of the fathers should be visited onto into the sons unto the fourth generation or something like that. And
mm, yeah. Um, I think possibly people have better tools. They can do better than fourth generation these days if they make use of those tools. But
yeah, yeah, I wouldn't take the four generations thing literally.
oh, sometimes it's worse than that. But yeah, I mean the other thing I said was Americans don't want to hear that it can take generations. Um,
I don't doubt that at all.
excuse me? Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, I could put the link to this initial post in the chat because it did turn up a bunch of interesting stuff. Um, I'll take a moment.
So to bring this back to the story this evening,
Yes, let's do that.
how do we hold these things, which again are very much part of the things that we carry, that we get attached to, that we are not necessarily trying to throw away in the sense of neglecting, ignoring, discarding, and yet we are disidentifying from them. And this is an important consideration because many people, for various reasons, are not able to do that immediately. And that's okay. That's why we talk about remedial work and generative work working in tandem. But the focus of this story is certainly primarily on generative work. And that's what makes it so challenging. Because for some reason, as human beings, we find a lot of comfort and safety in being uncomfortable, in holding to the stories that we have built up over a lifetime of unsafety. And it takes a lot to get to a point where we're willing to put those stories aside. And as always, there's a paradox there, because as we know, we are not trying to bypass, but we are seeking not to be defined by these things. One thing I found interesting about this story is the use of the mirror as kind of a symbol or a metaphor for the self. And to bring back some of the details of the story, we first have him, and this made me laugh. He gives away his mirror that tells him what a good-looking guy he is. And this is like one of his favorite personal objects. And so he indicates, you know, I'm serious because I'm giving this away. I'm giving away my sense of superiority and my love of myself, my superficial love of myself. And he revisits his reflection in his teacup and has to face certain truths about himself, conversing with his own image, being honest with himself about where he's at. You want to be seen doing cool things. You want to be seen overcoming and being super spiritual. And then finally, he encounters the motif of a mirror again when he encounters something deeper, far deeper.
That's a good catch. And I think on that note, we should switch over to Brady Bunch mode and then talk about dinner.
Fair enough. All right, are we on Brady Bunch mode?
Not yet. We are now.
Brady Bunch mode. Thank you so much for being here, guys. And Mushtaq, thank you for sharing that story with all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we are going to give people a chance to have their own printed copy or PDF version of that story in the not too distant future.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this will not be going up on the forum. It's something that we are holding on to for
We have a surprise.
future purposes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So again, thank you for being here. It's so good to see all of your faces, literally and metaphorically. Thanks for being here. And we can wave to each other, wave to everybody watching on the replay, and we will see you with two talks next Sunday, God willing. And perhaps Adrienne will be joining us in the morning talk, and we're gonna have a really cool session then. So join us then. We really hope to see you there so you can enjoy that with us.
And there will be more news about that before the talk.
Yeah, we'll send out more information. Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone. See you again soon.
Take care. Bye.